unlocking the mysterious benefits of silence. In a village, there existed a vast hermitage where the renowned Buddhist monk Gautama Buddha resided. Among his disciples, there was one who was exceptionally talkative. This disciple incessantly engaged in conversation, sharing stories gathered during donation rounds with fellow charm disciples. He indulged in gossip, spoke ill of one disciple to another, and consistently projected a self-righteous image in front of others. Claiming superiority, he boasted of being born into a wealthy family, asserting that he could have led a comfortable life filled with luxuries. However, he abandoned it all to seek the truth, understand himself, and comprehend life. According to him, his sacrifice surpassed that of all other disciples. One day, Gautama Buddha summoned all the disciples of their charm and proposed a challenge. Each disciple was required to make a resolution for the next month, aiming to fortify their determination and instill self-power. They were free to choose any resolution with their capabilities. However, if anyone failed to uphold their resolution before the month's end, they would revert to their old routines. All the disciples made resolutions, varying in significance, aligning with their individual abilities, and mental discomfort due to the self-imposed silence. As days passed, the disciple found it increasingly challenging to adhere to the resolution of staying silent. The weight of unspoken words became a burden on his mind. Unable to contain himself, the disciple rushed back to the Buddhist monk's cottage before the completion of the month. He admitted his struggle, saying, "Respected monk, I find it very difficult to stay silent. The burden of unspoken words is too heavy for me to bear. Can you please suggest a resolution that suits my abilities?" The Buddhist monk smiled and responded, "Learning to be silent is a great accomplishment. It may seem easy, but the true challenge lies in mastering control over your words and thoughts. Your initial perception of its being simple reveals the depth of its difficulty. This experience will teach you the value of thoughtful speech and the power of silence." The disciple, realizing the wisdom in the monk's words, recommitted himself to the resolution of remaining silent for the entire month, determined to overcome the challenges that surfaced in this request for self-discipline. On the fourth day, he started experiencing a peculiar uneasiness. The other disciples in the charm engaged in conversation with each other, and he too desired to express his thoughts. However, his resolution posed a hindrance. As a few more days passed, the disciple fell ill, his head throbbing. He had no appetite and no desire for food or drink. He only yearned to speak. He approached the Buddhist monk, communicating through writing. The note read, "Buddhist monk, I want to speak. I can't endure the silence. I feel breathless as if I'm losing my sanity. What should I do? Should I break my resolution?" The Buddhist monk smiled upon reading this and replied, "Resolutions are made to be broken. Yet, one who perseveres in fulfilling their resolution strengthens their inner self. This journey of strengthening oneself leads to enlightenment. If you feel compelled to speak, you may do so, but remember that each spoken words break your resolution, and you'll need to restart from day one. Speak if necessary, yet strive to increase your inner strength so that your essence can be understood even without words." The disciple, having received this guidance, refrained from returning to the hut. Instead, he took a pen and paper expressing his emotions through writing. The Buddhist monk, reading his words, continued to encourage him. Stating that the disciple was on the right path, the monk emphasized that everyone is equal and each person's journey is unique. The disciple completed the month without speaking, gaining profound insights. He learned that expressing oneself doesn't always require words, and that inner strength often lies behind seemingly simple resolutions. The disciple discovered peace in silence, realizing the benefits of concentration and meditation. Was taken back by the sudden silence of the person who used to speak so much. After 15 days, he again went to the Buddhist monk and talked to him by writing Buddhist monk. I am silent from outside, but there are many voices inside me. There's a lot of whining and complaining. I keep talking inside my mind and keep asking all kinds of questions. The more silent I am from outside, the more noisy I am from within is my resolve still on the Buddhist monk. The Buddhist monk replied, your external silence is a good start, but true silence must be achieved internally as well. The chatter within your mind is an indication that you still have a long way to go. Keep working on both external and internal silence, and you will find peace. The disciple, realizing the depth of the monk's wisdom, nodded and went back to his hut, determined to silence the inner turmoil. The disciple who took the vow of silence. Everyone is concerned about his safety. The Buddhist monk replied, don't worry, he is on a journey to discover the true meaning of silence. He has embarked on an inner quest to find peace within himself. Let him continue his journey, and when the time is right, he will return with newfound wisdom. The other disciple, although puzzled, respected the words of the monk. Time passed, and months went by. One day, to everyone's surprise, the disciple who had taken the vow of silence returned to the ashram. His appearance had transformed, and a deep sense of tranquility emanated from him. Curious, the other disciples gathered around him and asked about his journey. The disciple, now truly silent within, shared his experiences in a few words. He had wandered deep into the forest, away from the distractions of society and the noise within his mind. In that solitude, he had discovered the profound silence that exists beyond words. The Buddhist monk smiled, recognizing transformation in his disciple. The one talkative and boastful person had found true silence, not just in speech, but in depth of his being. The journey had led him to realizations that inner peace comes from transcending that incessant chatter of the mind. The story serves as a reminder that true silence goes beyond external addiction. It requires quieting the inner voices and discovering the serenity that lies within. Talkative monk of ours, would the animals have killed him? The Buddhist monk replied, the animals may have made him their prey, but there could be another reason for his non-return. Maybe he got what he went for. Then the disciple asked, Buddhist monk, is it so harmful to speak too much? The Buddhist monk said, it is often said that one of my many difficulties of being human is the inability to remain silent. We constantly feel the need to speak, even when it is not necessary or when it may lead to negative consequences. A significant portion of our troubles comes from our tendency to talk too much. Many family arguments and conflicts are caused by our meaningless chatter. We all want to be heard, but we often fail to listen to others. Instead, we focus on expressing our own opinions and convincing others that we are right. This only leads to more misunderstandings and resentments. This pattern of speaking and not listening continues throughout our lives, causing unnecessary stress and misunderstandings. But in this ignorance, we lose our time, our life, our understanding, and most importantly, the precious moments that can be lived, experienced, and enjoyed. But what do we get in return? Nothing. Everything becomes futile and wasted. Only a few people realize what we have lost in this madness, just as other people do not know about their arrival. Similarly, they don't know about their departure. The disciples said, "That's what is the solution?" The Buddhist monk said, "This is the only way to watch your thoughts with full awareness, contemplating all mental problems by staying in the present, and doing your work with full awareness brings miraculous changes in life." After getting answer to his questions from the Buddhist monk, he bowed down to him and went away. It had been 3 months since the disciple had left the shore, and there had been no news of him. The Buddhist monk had given up hope of his return. One day, to everyone's surprise and happiness, he returned to the shore. He was not the same person who had left. He had undergone an incredible transformation, and a sense of calmness radiated from him. His face exuded peace and tranquility. As soon as he came to the shore, all the disciples surrounded him from all sides and started talking. He also started talking to his disciples. Everyone who talked to him felt he was no longer as impatient and talkative as before. Every word came out of his mouth very smoothly and sweetly. After talking to the disciples for a while, he went straight towards the Buddhist monk. He touched the Buddhist monk's feet and said, "Am I still silent? Is my resolution still on?" The monk looked very carefully into the disciple's eyes for some time and said, "Yes, you're still silent. Not a single word is coming out of your mouth, and your resolution is still on." The disciple said, "When I left the shore, I was silent with my mouth, but there were many voices inside me. There were many questions in my mind, and they were not sleeping. So I went to the forest, hoping that there I would find peace, and the chatter of mind would subside. But the more I went into the solitude, the louder the voice inside me grew. I started hearing the old voice inside me. Only then I realized how wrong I was doing when I used to say bad things to my family, friends, and Buddhist monks. At that time, I used to feel that I was saying the right thing. Even when I used to backbit and make fun of the Buddhist monks, I used to feel that I was better than them. But that day, I realized for the first time how wrong I used to speak. For a long time, these voices, these complaints kept going on inside me. But gradually, one day, all these voices vanished from inside me. Now, I have become silent for inside also. In that dense forest, there was no one to speak from outside, and there was no sound left inside. I understood the true meaning of silence for the first time. That day, there was peace all around me, although there were still some voices coming, which used to come before. I could not hear them, but now I could hear all these voices clearly. The sound of the wind blowing, the rustling of the leaves, the chirping of the birds, all these sounds were very loud now. That day, I learned that the true meaning of silence is not just to remain silent from the outside, but to silence all the voices inside. The sound of birds chirping and the sound of flowing water. I heard all these voices for the first time with full consciousness. I had never felt so much peace around me before. So, to disturb this peace for the first time, I took any word out of my mouth. I shouted, "Oh God, what kind of peace is this? Why is everything so quiet? What happened?" But even after my shouting, the peace wasn't disturbed. Everything was as calm as before, outside as well as inside. Dear monk, I had a conversation with my fellow disciples and with you physically. I'm talking and walking and observing everything around me. However, I feel completely alone internally and in silence. Even when I try to express myself, I still feel isolated now. I can see everything clearly and hear everything more vividly. The Buddhist monk said, "That unrest within us is caused by speaking excessively on the outside. However, when we turn inward, we find a different kind of peace. The true meaning of silence is not just the absence of words, but the tranquility that comes from within. remain calm no matter what we say. Most of the world's evil originates from our talking becomes with fear silence. We speak more than necessary and fail to listen to others. Instead, we interrupt them to make them understand who we are and we can do. This becomes the purpose of our lives, and all our energy is wasted in meaningless conversations. Such a society is filled with sorrow because people don't listen to each other or try to understand. They don't want the value of silence because it makes them feel small. The reason behind all the battles in the world is our excessive talking. Therefore, we should speak only as much as necessary to conserve our energy. Unnecessary talk never allows us to go inward and always pulls us outwards. If we want to turn towards our inner world, we must keep our mouth closed. That's why all the Buddhas who come enlightened ran towards solitude to avoid speaking too much and listening too much. They remained calm in solitude, allowing them to travel within easily. Even while living in this world, we can live in solitude and remain calm. But for this, we must save our energy, which we waste on meaningless words. Better than before. If you found inspiration in this story, support us by hitting the like button, sharing it with your friends, and leaving a comment below with your thoughts or any Zen stories you'd like to hear next. For more moments for motivation and tranquility, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Your engagement fuels our journey. Thank you for walking this path of wisdom and enlightenment within us.